Hello, this is Conscious TV and my name is Renate McNay, and today our guest is Rupert Spira. Hello Rupert.
Hello.
And we are talking about non-duality. So Rupert, I would like to start by telling you a little story with what happened to me after I was reading your book 2 days ago. So I was lying in bed and I started reading your book, and I found it incredibly beautiful, the way you expressed certain things and what you said, and certain things which impressed me most I was reading loud out to my husband. And then around 11 o'clock I switched the light off and I fell asleep. At 1 o'clock, approximately 1, I woke up and I was wide awake. And this one sentence from your book just was in front of me, and it said, I, consciousness, reading these words and hearing the words. And in this moment, this sentence became like a gate through. I went through this gate, and on the other side, time and space collapsed. And I was gone. And there was only experiencing was experiencing itself.
Yes.
That was the, I only can express it like that. Consciousness was experiencing itself. And it was the most beautiful dance. I mean, I was lying in bed and I still had the feeling I was dancing. Everything was luminous.
Yes.
And it was just so amazing and so beautiful, and there was nothing else. And the funny thing was, what happened was, you said earlier, when in the interview with my husband, you felt at home at one point. Yes. And I had the feeling, finally, I am in my own shoes.
Yes. Yes.
And I don't know why shoes came up. You know, I like shoes, and I have about 10 pair of shoes. Finally, I'm in my shoes.
Yes.
I am at home.
Yes, perfect.
And it went on, and at the same time, at a certain time, my mind came in, another part, the part which you call is pretending, who doesn't know. Said, you have to sleep, you have to sleep, you have to get up tomorrow. But, you know, I just couldn't care less.
Yes.
And I was just on this ride, and
yes.
It was amazing.
Yes. That's a beautiful expression of this moment when we recognize ourselves.
Yes.
We, being consciousness recognizes itself.
Right.
And what you describe is a very beautiful description of what took place, that you
yes.
recognized yourself. The only thing I would comment, and I don't really want to touch your description because it was very, very heartfelt and beautiful, but at one stage you said, I went through a door.
A gate, yes.
A gate.
Which was your sentence.
Yes, yes.
Yeah?
So all I would say to that is that that's a metaphor for what happened.
Yes.
But the reason I just want to comment on that is that implicit in that sentence is an entity that somehow passes through an experience and then experiences something else. There's no entity. The I is not an entity that's in here that passes through a gate and suddenly experiences. It's always consciousness. Consciousness sometimes pretending to be a separate entity.
Right.
And in this case, reading these words relieved consciousness of the cramp of self-identification, of body.
Yeah.
And so this expansion, which you experienced as going through. But the reason I just pick up on that is that, although of course I understand it was this is an interpretation that the mind brings to bear on your experience. But the interpretation suggests that there was an entity that went through an experience and then experienced something else. And I think it would be a more accurate metaphor to say that the consciousness that was present at 11 o'clock while you were reading, exactly the same consciousness, let go of its exclusive identification with a body and a mind and experienced itself as it is, unlimited. And so there's this feeling of elation, expansion, because it's been used to being cramped into a body, and suddenly it opens up, it's relieved of that, the cramp of being a person.
Yes.
And it feels itself to be light, and all the words you use, light and expanded and happy, free, at ease. In my own shoes, I know exactly what you mean. It's very natural. It comes sometimes, to begin with a feeling of elation, but that's only in contrast to the previous feeling, which was one of cramp, self-contraction. In fact, the more often we return to ourselves, the more often consciousness returns to itself, the more natural it becomes. It doesn't always come as elation, as ecstasy. It doesn't come with any bright lights attached to it. It's just the natural feeling of being, as you say, in your own shoes, at ease, without problems.
Yeah, that's interesting what you just said, because I had over the last 20 years many, many beautiful experiences. So I have somewhere a concept how it ought to look like when we are there. Yeah, it comes with a lot of light and explosions and things.
Yes.
And I feel that prevents me from seeing it actually in my ordinary life. Yeah, but it's always there, but because the light is not there, the explosion is there, is not there, I don't appreciate it.
Yes. It's true that if we have, first of all, if we've had luminous experiences in the past that then end, this creates some nostalgia, some longing to go back to that place that we knew, that we know and love. And you're right in saying that this idea that what we're looking for is an experience, an objective experience that came once and then left. That this is a barrier, it prevents us. But what we then tend to do is to say, that prevents me from having that experience now. So in some sense, it's true. But even when we say, that prevents me from having the experience now, there is still something in that formulation that truly prevents us from having the experience. Because in that formulation, I want to have that experience now, there is the implication that there is something objective to be experienced. That what we're looking for is a special experience, is something extraordinary, has some objective element to it, that it's not just this scene here, but it's something extraordinary in the objective realm, either in the realm of mind or in the realm of the body. But that in itself is a misunderstanding. What we truly want, what we truly love the most, is not an objective, has no objective qualities. It's not to be experienced in the realm of objectivity. It's nothing to do with the mind or the body. It's not an experience in the mind, and it's not an experience in the body. Now, the body and the mind may express this experience.
Yes.
But the experience itself, the experience of consciousness recognizing itself, is not an experience in the mind, and it's not an experience in the body. And because it's not an experience in the mind, it doesn't take place in time and space. There is no time or space without the mind. So you were quite right in your original description. It felt timeless and spaceless. So there's no... The experience of consciousness knowing itself is timeless and spaceless. It doesn't take place in the realm of the mind or the body. So if we are expecting an objective experience, an extraordinary, beautiful ecstasy, or that expectation will prevent, or actually seem to prevent, this self-recognition taking place.
Yeah, but how can I not have an expectation of something
By understanding,
which is so beautiful?
By understanding precisely what we're talking, by understanding that consciousness, that what we love the most, what we are in our deepest self, has no objective qualities. And you're right. How do we understand that? By exploring it, by investigating it, by looking at it.
Right.
It's not enough to say, I've been told it has no objective qualities, and therefore I believe that. Because our deep feeling that consciousness has objective qualities will betray us over and over again, and will make us search in the world, or in the realm of mind or body, for the experience of itself. So, but it's no good to believe that consciousness is without objective qualities. We have to go to the experience of consciousness and look at it.
Right.
Explore it.
Yeah.
See if it's true in our own experience. Does what I truly am have any objective qualities? So, and we can do that. We can do that now. It's very easy to do it because all we have is this current experience. So it's very obvious to you now that you are present. That something is present. Something is hearing these words.
Yes.
Let's make no presumption at all about what that something is, whether it's objective or not. It's
just present.
We know that it's present because we're hearing something.
Yes.
We're hearing these words, we're seeing these sights. There is something which is present, which is conscious.
But is it the observer we are talking about?
Let's not call it anything. Let's
just
stay
pure presence. Yeah.
We don't even need to label it, except that we have to, except we're trying to speak about it, but it's something. Whatever it is, it's something. Let's just call it something, which is present.
Yes.
And it's conscious. In other words, it's hearing.
Yes.
These
hearing
words.
And it's seeing.
So it's conscious. Now, we don't know what it is. We don't have to know what it is, but we know that it is. It's an undeniable experience in this very moment that there is something present now, which is conscious, which is hearing. Yes?
Yes.
Now, everything that we experience in the objective realm is experienced by this something.
Correct.
Let's call it consciousness.
Yes.
By this. Now, it might be a thought or an image, and we call that the mind. It might be a bodily sensation, and we call that the body. Or it might be a sense perception, something that is seen or heard or smelled. We call that the world.
Yes.
So our objective experience comprises mind, body, and world.
Yes.
And there is something present which is aware of that, which witnesses that.
Correct.
And that is present now.
Yes.
We don't know what it is, we don't know where it is, but
Yes.
we know it is.
Yes.
That's an undeniable fact of this current experience. And it's the simplest fact of this experience. It's so obvious, yes?
It is, yeah.
Now, let's try and look at that. Let's try and see, what is it? Yes? So we turn our attention towards it. We try and find this conscious presence. What do we see? What do we find? We don't find anything objective. Let's say we did find something that had a particular shape. Immediately, that would be an object that we were aware of.
Correct, yeah.
And that wouldn't be this consciousness. It would be something that this consciousness was aware of, like the glass or the table.
Could we call it a field? Presence is a field?
A field.
Yeah, a
yes,
field.
A field.
Yes.
So it's a field to which our objective experience appears.
Yes.
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 But if we look at the field, it has no objective qualities.
That's right.
Would you say that was true of your current experience?
Yes. Yes.
Now, if it has no objective qualities, and yet we know that it is undeniably present, how do we know that it is limited? If we know something is limited, we have to see a border to it,
Correct.
an edge.
Yes.
But we've already said, from our actual experience, that whatever it is that is hearing these words is undeniably present, and yet it has no objective characteristics. So it has no border. In our experience, consciousness, which we call I, has no objective characteristics. How do we know it's limited? How do we know, for instance, that it's located in the head or in the body, which is what we commonly think? How do we know that? It's a presumption.
Exactly.
Nobody has ever experienced consciousness in the head or in the body.
Yes.
Nobody has ever experienced an objective quality to consciousness. Now, just that fact, which is simply a simple fact of this current experience, it has extraordinary implications, because it means that what we normally think of as I, which is located in here, doing, thinking, feeling, perceiving, that the I, the true I that thinks and feels, is not located in here. It's not an entity that is limited or personal. We have no experience. We're not saying what consciousness is. I have no idea what consciousness is. But we don't need to say what it is, because it is what we are.
I just, just listening to you, just completely opens up. I don't know what it opens up, but I feel this expansion, and I feel the emptiness.
Yes.
And I feel I don't have any ground.
Yes, perfect.
And yet at the same time, the experience is I'm sitting here and listening to you.
Absolutely perfect, what you said. Except for the last bit, when you said, I'm sitting here. You're not sitting here. You're present here. But that here is not located.
Yes, okay.
The chair, your body, these words, everything is appearing in you.
Yes.
You don't appear in them. You are not sitting here.
Yes.
So you see, in your formulation, the experience you describe is absolutely perfect. This expansion that you... And then the mind comes in and interprets that experience with the old formulas.
It needs to give it ground.
It needs to give it, and it says I.
Yes.
So when you say I am sitting here, you're
Yes.
referring to the body.
Yes.
But we've already, 2 minutes ago, we came to the conclusion through our actual experience that I,
Yes.
consciousness, is not a body.
Yes.
It's limitless.
Yes.
Why then do we say I am sitting here? That's going back to the old formulation that I is the body. I, consciousness, is not a body. The body, which means bodily sensations, and if our eyes are open, visual perceptions, appears in this consciousness.
Yes.
But and those appearances have limitations. But that in which the body appears, to which we refer as I, has no limitations. And that's not an extraordinary experience. We've just come very simply to that experience. And you expressed it very nice when you said you feel empty, and I could see that you were happy. That's, of course, consciousness is happy when it recognizes itself, when it says, oh yes, of course, I'm this free, open, limited, empty being.
Yes.
And another word for that self-recognition is happiness. That's what happiness
course,
is. That's
the
what the
heart is
experience of
happy.
happiness is. It has other names as well. Peace, love, beauty.
So how can we hold? I mean, I guess you would say there's somebody who tries to hold it. How can I hold myself in this experience without, I mean, in the moment I try to communicate something, of course, already the language is pulling me back into duality.
Yes.
Isn't
Yes,
it?
you answered your own question very nicely. Who is this one that you're referring to that wants to hold on? We've already ascertained that one, I, is not an entity. We've already come, just through simple observation of our experience, to the understanding and the feeling understanding that what we are is not, in this moment, what we are is not an entity.
Yes.
But then the mind comes back in.
Yes.
How can I hold on to this?
Yes.
You are, in this moment, you are consciousness. You are yourself. That which is hearing these words.
Yes.
That is what you are. You don't need to... Can you imagine not being that? It's impossible.
No,
You've
it's
always
just,
been that. So there's no question of having to hold on to it. How could you lose it? Where would consciousness go? Where is there... Have you ever experienced something that's outside of consciousness?
no, but I can forget it by believing my mind.
You can forget it, but it can't forget you.
No, that's right.
So when you say, I can forget it, you shrink yourself again into a personal entity that is autonomous, that sometimes remembers the real self, and sometimes forgets it.
Yes.
But we know already that that one is non-existent. So that one is truly consciousness. And it is true that consciousness forgets itself. You could put it like that. These are metaphors. They're not absolutely true. Consciousness sometimes pretends not to be itself.
Can I
and
just
hence the search begins.
read this one sentence from your book, which I marked, which I thought is just so beautiful. It says, consciousness veils itself from itself.
Veils itself.
Yeah, veils itself from itself by pretending to limit itself to a separate entity, and then forgets that it is pretending. I mean, it just breaks my heart reading that.
Yes, it's consciousness forgets itself.
Yeah.
It's instead of simply being open and present to the totality of its experience from moment to moment.
Yes.
And that includes thoughts, images, feelings, sensations, perceptions. Instead of allowing all that to take place within itself. And ultimately, if we look into the nature of that objective experience, we find that it is made out of the very its substance is the consciousness in which it appears. But it chooses, instead of saying, yes, I am the totality of my experience, it says, it contracts onto a fragment called a body, and the body is just a collection of sensations.
Yeah.
And instead of saying and feeling, I am the totality of my experience, it shrinks into a body and says, I am this little fragment. And by definition, everything, it draws a line in the sand.
Yeah.
And it says, I'm everything on the inside of this line, which is a body and a mind, and everything that is on the outside of that line is not me.
Yes.
And we call that the world.
Yes.
The world is just simply what I am not. That is what we consider the world to be. But this line that distinguishes between what is me, what consciousness believes to be itself, and everything that is outside of that line is an arbitrary, a completely arbitrary line. Why do we feel that I am this cluster of sensations, but not that humming in the background? They're both experienced in exactly the same place, inside presence, inside consciousness. They're both experienced, the so-called sound in the distance is experienced in exactly the same place as the sensation which is caused by my legs on the chair. And if we asked where are they both experienced, they're both experienced here. And I don't mean here a location, I mean here in presence.
Yes.
And they're both experienced at a zero distance
Yes.
from presence. They're both one
Yes.
with presence. But we say, no, I am this sensation here, but not that perception there. And hence consciousness of its own freedom, of its own free will, consciousness limits itself. And then it feels cramped, and it doesn't like that, because it knows.
Why does it do that?
It chooses to, out of its freedom. Its consciousness is freedom to do that. And as a result of doing that, it enjoys and suffers the full range of experiences that are available to one who is contracted into a person. Sooner or later, it gets tired. It says, no, I long to be myself. I long for my home. I want to be... I know that I'm not just this. Various forms of dissatisfaction that we're very familiar with. And first of all, it tries seeking in the world to alleviate this dissatisfaction through all the conventional means. And they all fail sooner or later. And sooner or later, we're brought to the ultimate cause of this dissatisfaction, which is the exclusive association of consciousness with a body-mind. And as a result of this, we begin to look and see, am I truly limited? And the more we look, the more we explore, we think, no, we're not. I'm not. I'm this open, empty consciousness. And we're very happy. Consciousness is very happy and feels very free when it discovers this, because it's returning. As it discovers this, it's returning to itself. Of course, it doesn't return to itself. It was always itself.
Yeah, yeah.
There is nothing other than itself. But it was pretending to be a fragment. And it felt unhappy because it was cramped. It was locked up in this body-mind and suffered accordingly.
So is it true then that suffering can be a doorway or a release into consciousness? Because I heard some stories of people who really were very depressed or ended up somewhere on the street like Yuji Krishnamurti and completely gave up in utter despair. And it happened to them.
Suffering Suffering is, and we're talking about psychological suffering, not physical pain. So psychological suffering, yes,
Yeah.
is it's like an alarm bell.
Mm-hmm.
It's like an alarm bell going off. Something is not right.
Right.
So it's, in a sense, it's like a clarion call. Consciousness is giving itself a message. Consciousness is signaling to itself something is not right. Something. So yes, it can be a wake-up call. And in some cases, the suffering gets very intense and desperate, and you hear of people who are on the brink of suicide or on the street.
Yes.
It doesn't have to happen like that. It could just be just a low-grade sense that things aren't quite right, I'm not happy with my life, I don't feel fulfilled. It doesn't have to be despair. There may be moments of despair, but it can also just be the feeling that I'm just not happy. I don't feel that I'm free. I don't feel that I'm truly where I should be. So it can be the level of suffering is not important, more or less intense. But yes, that the suffering is itself. Consciousness is recognition that it has limited itself.
Right.
That it has associated itself,
Yes.
mixed itself up with a body-mind.
Yes.
And the reason it suffers is because it knows, consciousness knows itself. Consciousness knows that it is pure love, pure intelligence, that it is unlimited, that it is pure freedom. So in the experience of suffering itself, there is already the taste of happiness. Otherwise we would be happy with our suffering. Why do we mind suffering?
Yes.
It's because there is a recognition,
Yes.
this is not right.
Yes.
This is not truly who I am. I know that I'm bigger than this. I
Yes.
know that I'm more of this. So yes, suffering is for most of us the first.
Yeah.
But the
I remember the experience I had with suffering when a few years ago one of my sons died. And there was so much pain. But I never tried to avoid this pain. And staying with this pain, because you cannot run away from this pain. The experience was always, I fell into this pain, I dove into this pain, and then everything opened up, and there was so much joy in my heart,
Yes.
and so
Yes.
much light.
Yes.
And I felt he's always with me.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, I'm sorry we have to finish, Rupert. Is there anything you want to say for a final sentence for us, or? Okay. Well, thank you for watching Conscious TV. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.